Yesterday, I had the honor of playing Magnus in Title Tuesday. It was December 12th. And we had a really crazy game. I've beaten Magnus twice in my life, and I was trying to beat him a third time. And there's been games I've played against him where he's just rolled me over, but this was definitely not the case. And I think there's a lot of lessons to take away from this game. I don't want to spoil the result, but I think it was super, super interesting. Magnus was actually on the Chessbra stream playing from his phone next to Ariantari, who was playing on the computer. So I might intersperse some of his comments about our game in this video. And after I show my live stream of the game, I will do a full breakdown and analyze all the crazy things that were missed by both of us. So hope you enjoy. Oh, I'm playing Santa Claus. Here we go. This was unexpected. So he didn't rage quit. People were telling me he rage quit. Maybe delivering presents all over the world. Okay, B4, of course. Let's play whatever I know about this. I have a wing gambit. So I'm threatening this, which we'll probably see. What's the theory here? E5? Yeah, I studied this a while ago. Queen E4 check. Yeah, this looks like the most solid. It takes D4. Sacking all the pawns. I have no idea what to do. Uh, you have something that's playable. Knight D2, I take on F4. Ah, I got tricked. Never resign when you have a knight. No. I was trying to set up a stalemate trap, but uh what a crazy game. I felt like I had chances there. Santa Claus gave me so many presents. All right, let's take a look at this game. Every time I play Magnus, he plays some different unexpected opening. This time it was a wing gambit, which I have studied in the past, and the line we ended up going into, I've checked maybe a few years ago, but not at all recently. This move d5 is a nice way to basically decline the gambit, and it has a trap that after takes, if white takes on b4, then queen d4 check, and black is winning the rook on a1. I believe there was a game in the US Championships a few decades ago that featured this opening trap. Maybe one of the shortest games ever in US Championship history. But unfortunately, Magnus did not fall into that trap, and he played the best move, knight f3. I played e5, and then he played pawn to c4, which, when he played this move, I had some vague memories of studying this position, but I couldn't remember exactly where my queen should go. And I was trying to figure out the least worst square for my queen. Originally I wanted to play queen a5, but it seemed a little bit awkward there because after bishop b2, then white's ready to take here or take here. And meanwhile, if I play queen e4 check, that only helps white develop, and then d3 is coming. So I settled on queen e6, which turns out to be the best move. Even though it blocks the bishop, it keeps the e-pawn defended, and b4 stays defended by my bishop. So we continue with d4, and Magnus just gives another pawn. I took it with check. He plays bishop e2, and I play knight c6. He castles. And in this position, I'm up 2 pawns, but I kind of froze up. I took about like 40 to 50 seconds to play my next move, knight f6, which I should have just played quickly. It's like a natural developing move. But I was just scared of like rook e1 ideas and the prospect of white taking here or taking here. And I think in the blitz game, it just looks like a scary position for black to play. A lot of potential for white to exploit my lack of development. So going forward, he played rook e1, and I managed to pretty quickly complete development after bishop e7, bishop d3, draw back with queen. He takes, I castle. So he won back a pawn, but I'm still up a pawn. And I found a nice square for the knight on b4, hitting the bishop. He played bishop to a3, pinning my knight to my bishop on e7. And then I found this nice move, bishop to c5. And I think I was playing like pretty well, but I was just playing too slowly. After just 14 moves, I'm already down below a minute. He's just used about 20 seconds off his clock. But at least I had a decent position. Engine slightly prefers black. And with bishop c5, I'm trying to prepare to take on d3, which would then defend my bishop and initiate some trades. So he avoids the trades with bishop f1. I play a5, reinforcing the knight. He plays knight d2. I play rook d8. He plays knight b3. And after pawn b6, he missed a pretty big opportunity here. Now he played his next move in 4 seconds. He took on d4, maybe just trying to pressure me on the clock. But what he could have done was take on c5. And white actually has a really nice sequence, which would have been really difficult to meet if he played this in the game, I would have to take back. And then he can take on b4, exploiting the fact that my a pawn is pinned. I'd have to take back with my c pawn. And then there's a very strong move, knight e5. And then my queen is hit. Knight c6 is coming, which would be a triple fork hitting d8, d4, and a5. And yeah, even though white's like traded while down material, I think, and also the engine thinks that this would have been just a really, really nice option for white. But I think given the time situation, like he was more inclined to avoid trades and keep things tense. But after knight takes d4, then I was able to essentially consolidate. I developed my final minor piece. He takes on c5. I take back. He plays knight b3. I defend the c pawn, unleash the rook to attack the queen. And after queen c1, then I'm getting initiative on my own. I struck with knight g4, threatening checkmate in 1. He defends with f4. And then I played this move a4. And even though I'm still significantly down on the clock, white is like close to just losing here. And I think there was a moment on the Chess Bra stream where Magnus said something like,
I'm actually getting busted.
so he was definitely not feeling well, and he took his first kind of extended think of the game because the knight is almost trapped, and if he moves to d2, then it leaves f4 pawn hanging. Now what happened is he did play knight d2, and I very quickly took on f4, which turned out to be a pretty big missed opportunity. Instead of taking on f4, I had the opportunity to take on h2. And yeah, unfortunately, I just didn't spot this with so little time. But the nice thing here is if king takes h2, then queen takes f4, and white's whole position is crumbling because I'm hitting the king, winning back the knight. I just have a massive attack. If I were to find knight takes h2, white probably shouldn't take the knight, but I'm ready to take the bishop. f4 is still hanging, and this is pretty much just winning for black. Engine gives a big plus in black's favor. So unfortunately, I missed that. I took on f4. The position's still good, but after he plays knight f3, I made a pretty bad misjudgment here. What I should have realized is white's king is much more vulnerable. And usually when the king, or the opponent's king, is less safe, you should not trade queens. But I went for the queen trade thinking that I'm up a pawn and I'm down on time, so I might as well try and simplify into an endgame. But this allowed white to come back into the game. What I should have played here is just retreat the queen, keep the queen on this diagonal, and then I'm threatening to take the knight and still generate some mating ideas. And the position is still very, very good for black, up a pawn with a lot of attacking potential. But once I took the queen, and then I took the knight, leading to a position where white has two bishops against two knights, then the momentum very quickly shifted, and it was white putting on the pressure. Even though I'm still up a pawn, it didn't really feel like it. Now, I was trying to trade. I really wanted to trade rooks, but he avoided the trade of rooks. And we got to a position where I was a little bit shish kebabbed along the d file. I moved my king to defend the knight, but at this point I had 3 seconds left, and playing on the 1 second increment is not really enough. And I just completely missed the threat of bishop a5. Now it turns out there is only one move to survive in this position. So if you want to try and find it, feel free to pause the video. I'm not sure if I would have found the move even if I had more time, but the only move is king to b6. Now this prevents bishop a5, but it allows bishop f1, which looks to win material because my knight is pinned and attacked twice, but this would be okay for black. This is actually preferable for black if I were to find the follow-up knight e4, counterattacking the bishop and preparing knight ef2 to save the pinned knight. And if a move like bishop takes g7 is played, I can still play this, hitting the rook, threatening rook g8. And it's actually black who is winning in this position. So yeah, it was a tough sequence to find. And unfortunately, yeah, once I blundered bishop a5, it went downhill very quickly. I do want to note that in this moment, maybe I could have tried king b8, but doesn't really help black because after bishop to e7, there's no way to stop bishop d6. I'm a little bit too slow with counterplay, and yeah, there's no way to use my knights to save the situation of my king. So I decided not to resign in the game because I thought it'd be funny to try and set up some stalemate trap. But he actually mentioned at some point during the game that he was aware of the possibility of stalemate. I think he mentioned it at the beginning, but then also towards the end too.
Playing Rosen, night stalemate.
And my hope was to have him like get in a situation where he sacks a queen for my pawn. Like if we were to get to this position, then I would try to play king h8, hoping he would pre-move some pawn move, expecting me to recapture. But yeah, that didn't happen. He played queen f6, and then I got mated. So that was a game. I think it was a really cool fight. I hope there's lessons to take away. It's always cool playing Magnus. Now, Magnus did have something to say right after the game.
Can we see how you won, or we can check the game? It's pretty terrible.
He called the game pretty terrible, but let me know what you think in the comments. If it was a terrible game, maybe for his standards, but I think for my standards, playing against a goat, it was maybe a story to tell my grandchildren. So hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more.